Welcome to another episode of Voices. I'm your host, Keston Jones. Visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. We are content experts. Let your voice be heard. Welcome to another episode of Voices. I'm your host, Keston Jones. Again, Voices, visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. And today I have a very special guest, Mr. Steuben Vega. This man, I've known him for a very long time. He has been a voice for the voiceless. He's worked in correctional facilities and throughout the 5 boroughs, educating individuals about HIV and AIDS, about criminal justice reform, about problem solving, around a number of issues. But one of the things that I want to talk about today is the fact that he is a credible messenger who finds it a passion of his to help support individuals in communities of color. So without further ado, thank you for agreeing to be on the show today.
Thank you, Keston, for having me.
All right, so for those that don't know you, please tell the folks a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the work that you're doing right now.
Okay, well, first and foremost, you did an amazing job at introducing me. I just want to say that. So for me to add to that right now would probably take away from it. But I'm grateful for that introduction. So I guess it's safe to just go into what is it that I'm currently doing as far as employment is concerned at this time. So I'm currently a program manager at the Osborne Association. Mm-hmm. And so the Osborne Association is an organization that provides services to people with criminal justice involvement. So what that means anyone who's on parole, anyone who's on probation, whether it's state, city, federal, it really doesn't matter. We provide services to that population of people. And in my role, aside from making sure that the program is running effectively, the goal is to help particularly the men, the fathers that are returning back into the community after incarceration. And so some of the things that we're focusing on is dealing with the family reentry process, helping them to understand how the family may have undergone significant change in their absence. You know, some of these men have been away for a substantial amount of years and their families have grown independently on their own, and helping them to understand that there's been a change in roles and that they need to be aware of that when they return back into that environment, if they're returning back into that environment at all. But just to understand how to engage with them, even if they're not returning back into that family unit, but is going to be interacting with them. And we also help them with employment, which is a very instrumental part in the transition phase. And so the idea is to make them job ready. So what we do is we deal with job readiness training. We help them to understand how to put together some fundamentals with the resumes, understanding how to engage an employer in ways that make them feel comfortable wanting to hire them. Because a lot of these men that come back into the community, not all, but many of them, you know, they have challenges with speaking, just being able to engage in ways that make employers not be intimidated with wanting to give them a shot.
Absolutely. So question, you mentioned returning, and I've heard you, throughout what you just said, you mentioned returning. Why returning citizens? Why individuals who have returned back from incarceration? What led you to want to get into that type of work?
Yeah, so Keston, you know me for a number of years, for a great amount of time, but our viewers don't know the journey that I've been through. And so the reason why I chose this population to work with primarily is because I am also a returning citizen. I'm an individual who was incarcerated for a substantial amount of time. And I remember a lot of the challenges that I was faced with returning back into the community and getting acclimated back within the community. And so for me, it was a need for me to help those who didn't have the same type of resources that I had, to help them to get acclimated. I find that it's a big problem with our citizens that are returning back into the community that lack that support. And so it's bad enough that in our communities, sometimes there's challenges with employment. And I think that that's a big issue today, because what happens is that if you don't allow them the opportunity to secure employment, and they have no means of supporting themselves, they're going to go back to what they think they know best. And so this perpetuates, that mindset that I have to get what I have to get, however I need to get it. And oftentimes that results in crimes. And so if we can start giving, our returning citizens these opportunities, to give them a chance to earn an income and to provide for themselves, I think we would be in a much better place.
Absolutely, and I personally have referred quite a few individuals to your program, so really want to applaud you for the work that you're doing. So in terms of this show is called Voices, and it's about really elevating the voice of the voiceless. And for yourself as a Latino man, can you speak about the challenges that a Latino individual has to face when it comes to returning back to the community, and how different it may be from an African American individual? What are some of those challenges for a Latino individual?
So I think there's a lot of similarities, particularly for those that are from other countries. But to speak specifically towards the Latinos, I think some of the challenges in the reentry process for many of them is we have to look at upon their consideration for release. Some of them are deported back to their countries because they perhaps was a citizen at one time, but then they forfeited that because they committed a felony, and so as a result they've been sent back to their countries. Some have returned to their countries and haven't had any family or know where to go when they go back into those communities. And so it's a lot of us are not aware of what it is that they're experiencing when they return to those countries because we're not following up with them. But I can only imagine putting someone in a country like that where they know nobody, they've been away perhaps 20 years and they have no contacts. What are they left to do? It's almost like it's still perpetuating the process, to perpetuate them to commit crime in those countries. Well, I figure you're not in my country, so you can do what you want in your country. And I think there's an issue with that. Also, a lot of times, even coming back out into our communities, there's challenges with trying to get certain documentation. So for instance, not too long ago, if you was a person who was born in Puerto Rico and you didn't have a birth certificate, they were wanting you to go back to Puerto Rico to go get it. And I mean, although that's kind of changed now and stuff like that, and you can still go about it through Vital Records and stuff online and get it, but there was a time where that was happening and stuff. And so I think that's one of the challenges. Also, a big challenge is the language barrier. Some of these Latinos are monolingual Spanish-speaking individuals who really don't speak any English. And so when they come out here and they're looking for employment, unless you can convey the message and what their job description may entail in Spanish, they may have challenges with understanding, or some may understand but can't articulate or respond back to you, or perhaps have challenges with reading the application because it might not be in Spanish. I mean, there's so many different challenges for the Latino population. And so when I say the similarities between Latinos and some other African Americans from other countries, some of them have some of those challenges as well. They may not necessarily have the language barrier, so to speak, but they may have the documentation issue. They may have to also return back to their countries as a result of the crimes committed. There's a lot of different factors when it comes to that.
This right here is a subject, especially in light of current events with immigration policies in this country, as it relates to our current administration. So I'm definitely aware of some of these challenges. Is this something that your agency has specifically addressed? And when I say that, what I'm talking about is individuals who speak Spanish are able to be among those that assist individuals who have returned back to the community?
Right, so that's a great question. So we have, in my organization, we have lots of monolingual, bilingual, some even trilingual speaking individuals. And so we have certain programs that are in place specifically to address that language barrier. So oftentimes we find people that they come and they may have been mandated to a drug abuse program, substance abuse program. We have a Spanish track for the substance abuse population. When it comes to the workforce, when we enroll them, oftentimes we're also looking at, especially when I speak with the Spanish population individuals, how far along can they engage someone when it comes to speaking English? Because a lot of them, they understand a little bit of English and can say certain things and bring their message across, but they're not confident enough. And so as a bilingual person who's fluent in both English and Spanish, I make a good assessment as to whether I think they can engage an employer speaking their second language, which would be English. Although they may have some challenges, but as a person who has been in a position to hire people, I look at that myself and I wonder, would I be engaged enough, as a person who did not understand Spanish, to be able to understand what it is that they're saying?
Absolutely. Well, shout out to the work that you're doing. Shout out to the Osborne Association for the work that they're doing as well. In regards to yourself as someone who has overcome tremendous obstacles, what are some of the things that you're currently doing to, improve on your skill set? You mentioned that you're a director of a program. You mentioned that you're responsible for hiring people. But what are some of the things that you continue to do to improve who you are and your path to success moving forward?
Right. So I always tell people that I'm a work in progress. I say that because I'm never satisfied. I'm never content at being able to grow professionally and just in my personal life and my engagement with other people. So I feel that there's always room for growth. And so I'm always looking to do things. I get involved in any type of program or trainings that I think I could be a part of that can help me professionally. To grow so that I could mature in this within my organization. Also, I went back to school as well because education is very vital in so many aspects of a person growing professionally and as far as maturity is concerned. So I'm currently enrolled in school once again. My goal is to become a licensed social worker. I think that I have what it takes to be effective in this role. And so that's why I chose that line of work, because I feel that I have a greater purpose in life. And so although I'm doing a lot now, there's still so much more that needs to be done.
Yeah, definitely, man. Shout out to you for the work that you continue to do, especially in this field where a lot of men aren't licensed and don't have the education to obtain some of these positions as it relates to social work in other areas. So, we've talked quite a few, we've mentioned quite a few things about the incarcerated population. We've mentioned quite a few things about reentry. What advice would you give to policymakers, elected officials about the current status of reentry? What are some of the things that you would tell them to help, inform them or improve these individuals about their policies they currently have about returning citizens?
Yeah, that's a big question that we speak about often in different modalities. I mean, there's just so much that can be said about it. And it would take so much time, I think. I think just to just to pinpoint first things that jump at me, some of the things I think about is, trying to remove some of these barriers that we have for them. Like, for instance, the employment stuff, I think that's a big issue. But I first want to, before I even go into the employment aspect, I think something that's also significant and probably would be a good place to start also would be opening the door for more education within the correctional facilities. Because I know firsthand that there aren't too many facilities that offer college education. And the reason why I think that that's so significant, Keston, at this time is because, when you educate someone, you help them to develop an awareness, right? To enlighten them about things. And some of the things that they need enlightening in is understanding the impact that their actions have had on the community, not just the family and the person that they may have been accused of victimizing or whether they victimized them. I'm not here to judge anyone, but just the fact that you are incarcerated for a crime, just getting to understand the impact that those decisions have had.
Collateral consequences.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so I think that when you can start having them understand that and being able to empathize more and gaining an understanding of what that would feel like had that been done to their family member, I think that's a start, and it requires a certain discipline. And so education is always a great place to start when it comes to discipline. And I think that from there, that also opens the doors for more opportunities as far as employment is concerned. Because I speak with the population that I work with, and we speak about employment, and at times I have to disclose my past. I have to let them know, and the reason why I do that is to not so much to boast about the amount of time that I spent incarcerated. It's more so to show them that while you may have done 1 or 2 years, I'm telling you I spent this amount of time incarcerated, and look at what I've managed to do with myself. And so there's a lot of barriers that they have as far as what their perception is about coming back out into the community. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be any challenges upon their release. But what I'm saying is that you have to remove some of them, and you have to fight and go past many of them, because many of them can be worked around. You know, and so I always try to show them, like, listen, you know, you may look at me as a success story, and I'm grateful that I can be that person for you, but there are countless people that I can talk about, you know, that I've seen come through the program who have done a great job. You know, and if I may, I can tell you one person right away, Keston. I mean, I have so many success stories, but I have this one that just jumped out to me. I have this individual who was a federal inmate who was transitioning out from the federal halfway house. That's a place where I go to periodically to speak with the population there with hopes of getting them to enroll in our programs. And so what happened was that this individual, I seen him 3 consecutive weeks that I went over there to speak with the new people that come down from the federal facilities into this halfway house. And what I noticed that he was there, and you know, I was looking at this guy. This was a guy who had some tattoos on his face, and he had a certain image that was like what I could see the community kind of being concerned about. But again, me, because of my experience, I knew that I could look past that. But I just knew that I was looking from the eyes of a person who probably doesn't understand that. And so here it is. He kept telling me how he, you know, that the program sounds good, but he never enrolled into the program. And so one day, on the 3rd time that I was there, he told me, you know what, Mr. Vega, I've seen you speak 3 times here, and each time I was like amazed at the work that you're doing over there in Osborne. He said, but I have to be honest with you. The reason why I don't want to enroll in a program is, he said, because I don't really feel comfortable out in the community. I've spent most of my life incarcerated. And so he said that, you know, I feel more secure, you know, when I have that support around me, like having people looking over him and stuff like that. And that when he's giving too much space, that he tends to go to the left and do things. So, but I told him, I said, but you know, you've been doing this for a number of years, and have you ever thought about changing that? You know, maybe we should try just give something a shot and see what happens. And if at any time you feel uncomfortable and you think this is not for you, by all means, I will not have a problem with moving you out the program, and when you're ready, you can return. And so he took me up on my offer. And this guy, I was so surprised, because I sit in the class periodically to see the dynamics of the class, and I did not know how much insight and how intelligent this guy was, because of the perception that I had when I began to look at him. Here it is, this guy with tattoos, you know, and you know, he talked about a little bit about his past. So what happened was that he was somebody who had a lot of issues with his family. They did not trust him because he was constantly going back and forth to jail. He burned a lot of bridges. Now, mind you, this particular program that I manage is called the Prepare program, which is a fatherhood-focused program. And so the idea is to strengthen those family relationships, you know, and you know, there's parts of the curriculum that speak about that. And he was receiving so much information from the program that he started to apply that to his family. He started, you know, apologizing and coming to terms with, you know, his issues as far as how he handled matters within his family, and how he betrayed them and did a lot of different things. And what wound up happening is that they actually gave him a shot, opened the door to try him. And so this is a person who also had a daughter who, I believe she had cerebral palsy from birth, and she could never read or write, and she was challenged, and she's like 18 years old now, and she's very small. And so he says that, you know, that they gave him an opportunity, because he'd never seen her because he'd been in jail so long. They gave him an opportunity to be able to FaceTime with her. And so he was able to deal with her through the FaceTime, and he started doing that so much, being consistent with that, that now all she ever wanted to do was, like, when she see him on the thing, on the phone, she gets excited. And they were telling him, like, it's something about when she sees you, it just changes her whole way of being, that she gets really excited. And so he comes, you know, we got him a job, you know, we got him a nice job working at the Osborne janitorial program, where he's making great money, and he's gotten a lot of different credentials through our program. And so I just want to say, like, this guy, we have invited him back to come speak at graduations, and he's delivered some speeches that were amazing, Keston.
Yeah.
And this guy, like at the drop of a dime, like I've used him for success stories. I've used countless people. This guy is an amazing guy. I mean, if you were to meet him, and you probably will because of his new journey, that it'll be a matter of time before you'll eventually meet who he is.
Absolutely, man. All it takes is to give someone a chance. And many people who are returning citizens, that's all we're asking for. So to the policymakers, to the different elected officials, we are a part of the community. Individuals who are formerly incarcerated are part of the community and are looking for a chance to be invited and welcomed back into the community. But we definitely need the tools. And credible messengers are a part of those tools. Individuals who have been through these issues, who have overcome challenges, and who are a viable resource to you. So utilize individuals like Mr. Vega, utilize individuals who are a part of the Osborne Association and other programs, because it's very important, especially when you look at the cost of incarcerating someone annually and the cost of educating someone annually. It is definitely polar opposites in terms of what we're investing in. So let's invest more in our education. Let's invest more in our youth. So we and provide programs so they won't end up into the prison, school to prison pipeline, which is certainly something that's happening in many of our communities. I'm so ecstatic to have you here, especially you blessing us with the wisdom about your program and your years of experience. Really appreciate having you as a guest on the show. And what I would say is, can you leave us with a message? Leave us with some kind of words of encouragement, especially to the Latino folk who, in many respects, are monolingual and may not understand much of what we said, but maybe give them a message to them to let them know that they can continue to persevere, and with true perseverance and also support, they can be success stories just like yourself and just like countless others. And how can we get in contact with you? Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just would like to say that I guess you have to believe in yourself, Keston. You have to believe in yourself. You can't doubt yourself, because when you doubt yourself, you don't try as hard. You have to be driven and motivated, and you have to find that motivation, what that may be. And don't believe that you can't do it. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I didn't allow that to be a barrier for me when I came out. And all I did was continue to pass the message on, because I wanted people to believe that you can accomplish a lot. Don't let someone else be your limit. Don't let someone else limit your ability to succeed. And so I can be reached a number of different ways. You can call up the Osborne Association and you can ask for me. My name is Steuben Vega. I'll give you my landline there. The number there is 718-707-2639. You can reach me at my email there as well, which is svega, so that's SVEGA at Osborne, that's OSBORNENY.org. And if you want to get to know a little bit about me on a personal level, by all means, you're more than welcome to follow me on my Instagram. It's SV_Brooklyn, but the abbreviated version, which is BKLYN.
Absolutely. And I definitely want you to send a quick, words of encouragement to the Latino population as well.
I just want to say, I guess that...
in Espanol, man.
Oh, in Español? Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Putting you on the spot, man.
Lo único que te voy a decirle es que tú lo puedes hacer. Tú tienes que hacer lo tuyo sin pensando que no puedes. Tú tienes que hacer todo pensando que uno puede y no deja que la otra persona dice que tú no puedes. Eso es lo único que te puedo decir. Tú tienes que, hacer todo lo que tú puedes para mantenerte acá afuera. Eso es lo único que te puedo decir.
What he said. So this has been another episode of Voices. Once again, I'm your host, Keston Jones. What do you think about this particular episode? Please comment. We want to hear from you. For those individuals who are returning citizens, and you can tell us about your journey and how have you overcome certain obstacles. And again, if you want to get in contact with Mr. Vega, please reach out to him at the Osborne Association. The information will be in the description of this video. Please share, please subscribe. Peace.
Peace.